So I've checked out your picture. Yeah, you've got like an aeroplane, so I presume it's skydiving, right?
Yes, yes.
So skydiving for me is the ultimate thing about having a fear and then thinking, oh my God, it was fucking amazing afterwards. And skydiving can be put into anything in life, moving house, like finding a relationship, getting a new job. It's that feeling of shit, I'm scared, fear. But then when you
Yeah.
do it, it's like, oh my God, this was amazing. And no one ever gets into the plane. Everyone just they don't even book the
Mm.
skydive, and that's people's life. They never actually get to that point of where they can change their life. And if they got there, if somebody forced them in that plane and forced them out, they would realize, oh my God, that feels amazing. And they can put that fear into anything in their life and realize, I've just got to focus getting over this fear. And there's a whole new world of everything that you want. And it's a fine example of that line. Skydiving, it symbolizes everything, even
Yeah.
bungee jumping.
I love skydiving. I love sky. Have you? I'm a licensed skydiver, so I had to do like a course to learn how to. Believe it or not, you can't just be shoved out of a plane and skydive. Yeah, I had to do a course, which was the scariest thing I've ever done in my life, but like by far the best. And even though I've loved every jump that I've done, after about 20 jumps, you kind of overcome the fear. Like you can actually go up in the plane feeling fine. You don't sort of think, oh shit. um, and yeah, and it's so amazing just to jump out of that plane and see the sky and the air, and it's so freeing, and you're so in the moment because you can't, like when you jump out of the plane, you can't think of the bills, what you're going to have for tea, all that sort of thing. It's just truly living in the moment. It's as much, being as free as you can be, and yeah, I absolutely love it. Yeah.
So you're saying that you are able to go by yourself as opposed to with
Yes.
somebody else? See,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
exactly what I want to do. How much is that? Is it a
Um,
course?
Yeah, I did an AFF course that cost about like 1,500 to £2,000, depending on how good you are. Because I was a rubbish skydiver. I had to redo a couple of the levels because you have seven jumps with instructors. And then after that, you have like a 10 jump sort of thing where people are watching you and making sure you're okay. And after that, you're on your own. You sort of
So now you can essentially go up in your mate's plane, for example, and jump
yeah,
out legally. So it
yeah,
doesn't matter how you get up there, whether it's through an academy, an agency, or your mate Bob's helicopter or plane, you can now
yeah,
jump out legally
yeah, yeah.
at any height in the
Uh,
sky. What was their limit?
Yeah, I'd rather be above 4,000 because otherwise you're getting a bit low, you know.
But can you like go to say like 50,000, for example? Is there like a specific height you can't jump down by? Like, can you go to space, for example?
Well, I could, but you'd have to have special equipment to breathe because above 13,000, it's quite the air gets kind of thin. So,
And
yeah,
is there rules that you can only jump out of planes or can it be helicopters as well?
you can jump out of anything. To be fair, there's no actual law preventing you right now from doing it. It's just it wouldn't be a very good idea.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I want to get a paraglider where I can go on a mountain and just paraglide off, and you've got the fan that keeps you
yeah,
up, and you're just paragliding. That's about
yeah.
2 grand. That I would
Yeah.
do. Would I get training? Probably.
I'd
But yeah, I
definitely advise it.
definitely. So the thing about your license. So you said anyone can skydive. In fact, no, you can't skydive yourself without a license. Is that what you're saying?
Um, well, like legally anyone could skydive, but I mean if you go to a drop zone, they everyone would want to see your license and make sure you, but I mean
Right. Got it.
yeah, I mean I could get a friend of mine to fly me up in the air and jump out of it, and so could anyone, but it's just not a good idea. I mean I'd recommend training.
So when you first wanted to skydive, was it because it was something you wanted to overcome in terms of fear, or did you just have a passion for it? What was like the spiritual reason why?
Weirdly, I'd written it down on my, because when I was about 10, I'd written down a list of things I wanted to do in life, and it included like see the pyramids, like go to the coral reef, this sort of thing. And one of them was do a skydive, and I've always carried it around in my wallet, like, and it's like really ropey and sort of yellow now and really old. But my sister had actually remembered this list, and for one of my birthdays, she bought me a tandem skydive because she remembered that I wanted to skydive. Um, And yeah, and she came with me as well because she really wanted to go skydiving. And when we did that, it was so amazing that we both loved it so much we wanted to go again. But to do a tandem is quite expensive. I think it's about £250, like compared to if you skydive on your own with your own rig and everything, it's about £20 a jump. So, but so yeah, there's a big difference.
Wow. And also, have you ever done things like bungee jumping?
No, weirdly.
Would you ever
I
do
just
bungee jumping?
yeah, I suppose I would, but yeah, I just never really got round to that, I guess. Yeah.
You know, like things like people go to they snorkel to the bottom
Mm,
of the ocean. Have you done anything
mm,
like that? And do you think that that is also it's like people have a list of things. It's all to do with the normal same like six, for example, bungee jumping, skydiving. They want to scuba dive. It seems to be like if you want a traveler who goes to like Australia or Bali, that
mm.
you always have these five things to do. And those people who do that type of thing, their mindset is different compared to others who don't do any. Because you don't just do one, you do all like six, or you don't do any. It's a different type of
Yeah,
mindset. Like the
definitely.
people are searching for more than just fucking 9 to 5 job, come home and die.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I mean, this is why I love skydiving so much because, like, a lot of the people, like most of the people, are the same mindset. They're always talking about their travels and what they've done and what they want to do, and they've just got such an open mindset to life and experiences, which I really love. So yeah, and
And it
that's
stimulates you to think about the next thing to do. So you go skydiving and somebody's like, "Oh my God, I went to see the Northern Lights. You should
yeah,
definitely do it." And now you go home and tell your partner, "Oh my God, let's go see the Northern Lights." And then you go there, you meet other people there, and they're like, "Let's go. I'm going to the pyramids next week." So you're mixing with the same types of people,
mm,
stimulating ideas on that same frequency. Before you know it, all your thoughts are made up of all this amazing stuff that's not even in the same country, and that's fine by me
yeah,
because like this the only way you need to go out of the country to see stuff. And it's crazy how people don't even travel, like say to Cornwall for example, or 50 miles away in their own country, let alone other countries. I'm like, Jesus, I never want to
yeah.
stand still. I want to
Oh
die like on
yeah.
top of the mountain
Definitely.
on
Well,
way
I think
to.
some people have such limited like perception of life, and I find it really sad, especially like even people like that don't have any money. They're like, oh, I can't travel because I don't have any money, and you're like, well, you live in this amazing country. You could like hike to Scotland, to Cornwall, go to Wales. I mean, they're all quite different. You don't have to let certain things hold you back. I think a lot of people say, oh, well, I can't just afford to go to Australia or Bali or all those sort of places, but there's stuff you can do anyway.
That's the thing, nothing changes if you haven't got any money. Make more money or cut back on
Yeah.
what you're spending money on: coffees, Chinese takeaways, Indians, food, stupid pillows and candles and that nonsense, petrol in your car, so get the train a few times to save the petrol. There's always something else you can do. Like if you've got up your insurance company, guarantee that they can reduce it. Or if you're
Mm.
paying too much for something, it's a technical error or a system error. Or there's always ways to get money back. Things some like a tax rebate. So many people owe money through a tax rebate because the code was wrong. It's just so we're talking thousands of quid, like over 25 years of employment. If you call up your inland revenue, whatever, they will have fucked up somewhere along the line and you'll be given a tax rebate. So when people say they've not got enough money, yes, right now you might not because your outgoings are more than your ingoings, but there's always a way to make money.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I just got a tax rebate of 250 quid for a couple of years ago, and yeah, it was really cool. I was like, oh, I didn't realize that, and yeah, you just write a letter, and they give you the money back. It's yeah, not rocket science.
And
But I
like
think it.
everything in life is
Oh no, that's it. Thanks.
oh, everything in life is becoming localized. So we're not depending on we depend on big companies and shopping and everything to come from other people. But as we are revolving, we're realizing too many people are dependent on too many people. And so we're becoming localized. So this thing about needing money to do this, there's no one stopping anyone from saying, I'll cut your grass if you cut my daughter's hair, or if you paint my fence, I'll knit your cushion. So again,
Yeah,
that would have cost say £70 to pay someone to paint your fence, but you've just cut that person's hair, for example, and now it's a trade. So rather than her going to the hairdressers that's say 20 minutes away, which takes time and money and petrol, you walk across the road, cut that person's hair, and then the husband comes round and paints your fence. That's 70
yeah,
quid you didn't have before, which can be a day out to say a bungee jumping course or whatever.
yeah.
It's just like you have to break the system of what we think exists, and then you realize that nothing exists. It's all in your head. You've got to create the life you want, and it's just
Yeah.
an illusion.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very much into like the sort of bartering mentality because also you don't, it's less tax as well. Well, I used to be a photographer. I used to do wedding photography, but a lot of the time it'd be nice if I could talk to people and say, well, what have you got in exchange for this, which would be worth, I don't know, £500 if you were to pay money for it. But and a lot of times you get something which is worth how you feel much more than £500. Like if I was paid the £500 to do the photography, I might not have been able to buy that thing for £500. You see what I mean? So I think both parties get more than the value of what they're swapping, if that makes sense.
And that's the thing, it always balances up. For example, you
Yeah.
might get a camera which is actually worth 700 quid, right? And they've lost out on £200. But for example, if they keep this bartering thing up, they might get given something that's worth a lot more than what it would have just been in cash. So it always balances out. It's not, oh, I'm
Yeah.
down, because everything goes up and down. And the way everything's going, where there's so much of everything, like for example, as I say, car washes, you can get your car wash done for say £5, and then another one opens up, so now it's £4 to compete, £3. Barbers, like bloody £9 for a haircut. Eventually it's all going to go down to the same value, where we're just going to be trading at equal value, and it's not this is more expensive than that. It's just we're trading, like everything's going to be equal trade, and it won't be long until petrol stations simply don't exist, and we all have electric cars, and we have our own charging port which is charged by the solar panels on our roof, so we don't need petrol. We will just simply charge up at night time. So again,
Yeah.
we won't need big companies for to live, because everyone will have it locally. You'll be growing the carrots in your garden, next door neighbour's growing sweet corn, he's growing apples, he's growing blackberries, and you'll just come and trade. And more importantly, there'll just be a local field somewhere where everyone can just grow whatever they want. It's just help yourself. Take my
Yeah.
strawberries, take some apples, and it'll just grow back. And then
Yeah.
you won't need supermarkets. And then when there's a crisis, you'll have plenty of food.
Yeah, that'd be good. Have you read there's a book called, I think it's One Red Paperclip, about a guy who trades. Oh, it's brilliant. He starts off with one red paperclip, and he uses this online trading site, which is a bit like eBay, but you say, I've got this, what have you got? We can swap. And basically he trades a paperclip. Within a year he has a house. He ends up with a house.
Really?
And
Is that true?
yeah, yeah, it's true, it's true. He's written a
Oh,
book
wow.
about it, and yeah, it's really interesting. Like obviously the book's really interesting, and but yeah, I mean that's like an aside point really.
How long did it take to get that?
um I can't quite remember, but it's definitely less than a year. It was like, 6 months or so.
Less than a year from a paperclip to a house.
Yeah, yeah, it was crazy. Yeah,
Fuck.
I know.
Like
And it,
if that's true, like I'm the type of person to do that.
yeah, yeah, I'll look it up. I can't remember the name
Uh,
of the, I think the book is called One Red Paperclip, but yeah, it's really cool.
so you just go up from like a paperclip to a stapler to a notebook to a fountain pen to a ring binder to a whiteboard, and that goes up from like 17 quid to 20 quid. And then you buy some shitty car for £1,000, and then someone wants it, and then they do it up, and then you make one too. It's so possible. It literally
Yeah,
is. And it
it
just shows
is.
that nothing, there's no value to anything. It's what we put it on.
Yeah,
And
totally.
if that person is selling, say, a £4,000 car, which is really old and shitty, which he doesn't see as value, well, that's
Mm.
value to somebody else. So it's possible. It's just you need the vision and the drive. But that's
Yeah.
amazing. That's definitely something I would do if I've got
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, it's really cool because especially some when you read the book, because some of the swaps don't seem to make much sense because you think, oh, that is not hasn't got as much monetary value as the thing he has. But then you find out that actually he knows somebody. Like I think one of the things he swapped was like he swapped something like a snowmobile for like an opportunity to meet the band Kiss or something like that. Um, and you think, oh, that's a really dodgy swap. But then he managed to swap. He knew that somebody else was really into that band, and they swapped it for something like awesome.
What's
Um,
it called? Paperclip. I'm just going to
uh,
write it on my
one,
notes.
yeah, one red paperclip.
One red paperclip.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like if you googled something like paperclip swap for house, he would come up.
So, what's your thoughts on for example, I was listening to a YouTube video before bed, right? And they were saying about, I mean, we're not getting onto global warming. It's just something similar,
Yeah.
but not the same, right? But essentially, because of the planet heating up for whatever reason that is, there is companies like planes spraying sulfuric acid in the sky to create a cloud of smoke, to create a cloud so the sun doesn't penetrate through the clouds and hit the earth, for example. So it's a way of balancing out emissions without addressing the real issue, which is too many cars and too much shit. But apparently, it's been going on since Kennedy was in office, and sulfuric acid each year is going up, and every year it's increasing by a bit more because it creates like a barrier, and the sun can't penetrate. Um,
Mm.
I've noticed like lately, since we've not been out on the cars and companies haven't been working, that the weather's been really great. And I don't mean like sunny because it always has been sunny, but it seems to be calm.
Mm.
And there's not much cloud. I know there's clouds now,
Mm.
but there seems to be less clouds and it's more calm. And if you think about how many planes used to be around before we stopped working and how much clouds there were, well, if the planes were spitting out sulfuric acid or whatever to balance it out, it does make sense why it's always cloudy and windy, especially when it's been going along for 60 years since Kennedy days. But it's not
Mm.
something that many people know about. So that's not necessarily global warming. That's kind of somebody trying to counteract it. But that's
Yeah.
just interesting if that is true. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts I think it'd be a very bad idea. It sounds to me like if your car has got like a warning light, which the global warming would be like a warning light, you're putting too much crap into the atmosphere. It'd be by pumping stuff up into the atmosphere to counterbalance it. It sounds to me like just putting a bit of tape over that warning light. So, well, don't worry, we can't see the warning light anymore, but there's still something very wrong, with the emissions and stuff. So I think it's far better idea to tackle the root of the problem, which is the emissions, than to just try and, put a bit of tape over the warning light.
This scientist person, he came on a talk show host, Stephen Colbert in America a few years back, and he mentioned how it's happening. He wrote a book about it and how companies are increasing it every year. And 50, 60 years ago, when everything became like industrial and oil and everything, they probably realized that okay, it's going to have this effect, but for now we'll just spray this to counteract it and then we'll deal with the emissions later. But he said it kills 1 million people every year, all the sulfuric acid, because it goes on our crops and our food, we're breathing it in. um, Again, it's not something that really anyone knows about, because if you go back to the source of anything, it's
Mm,
many years ago one person came up with it and he dies and it just gets funneled down, and then you forget where it comes from and you just follow like
yeah,
education system and teaching outdated bollocks that doesn't really have any impact on kids anymore. You forget like why schooling was created years and years ago, and often those people
yeah,
have died a long time ago, and it's just continuously coming down. So yeah, the source of anything gives you the answers, but so many people have health issues, especially with breathing issues and stuff. And obviously, emissions is really bad, but thinking about the other stuff in the air that you can't see. Like he says, if you look at a plane, if it's just natural engine, whatever, it will just go
mm.
in a long line and it won't disperse. But sulfuric
Oh,
acid will start to disperse. You'll get like gaps,
uh,
something to do with that. So you can tell the difference between planes. Um,
mm,
but yeah, a lot of this stuff is becoming uncovered. And it's not that it was ever done to control people, it's just governments want to keep society stabilized. And if you start saying there's aliens walking around, well, it'd be fucking
yes,
disastrous. It's not they're keeping stuff from us, it's just how it is. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. I remember reading once they say you have to oh, what's it? You have to take note of like the dumbest people in society when you're thinking about how to release information and that. You think there will always be some people that will panic and like think, oh, we're going to be like zapped by aliens, so we should attack them or whatever. Um, so yeah, you've got to account for that, unfortunately. Uh, but yeah, but I still think that the population in general should be more aware of what's happening, and I think with the internet um, we have got much more access to information now, and there's much more information being shared, which I think is good. And I think it's everyone should, like, if they're interested in things, look up the reality before they just accept what's like maybe told them in the newspapers and on mainstream media and that sort of thing.
Just imagine like imagine governments have always shared information, right? They just have, but there was no internet, so people of those countries couldn't confirm whether something was true or not. and they just take the government's word. And now everything's online. You can essentially go to another country and sort of confirm, my government said this, is that correct? No, it's not, it's bollocks, I'm not going to listen. Everything has changed where you can have access to the source of where governments get their information from, because, for example, Chinese people and their governments, they filter it down to their population. You have a Chinese mate on Facebook, he then connects with his English friend and says, oh, my government said this. And it's like, no, that's nonsense. So now you don't believe everything as quickly as you would if there wasn't online. And of course, there's all loads of bad stuff with online. It's almost like a balancing act. There's good and bad. So really, we don't go anywhere. We're just still in the same position. We're just counteracting our pain with some Gucci handbag or something, and it's just
yeah. I think you have to be very careful and like filter what you look at online, because there is a lot of stuff out there, like a lot of very negative things, especially in the news. You hear lots of negative stuff, and it's all doom and gloom. And you think, wouldn't it be nice if they were forced to have 50% good news and 50% whatever news they feel like broadcasting? You know,
it's not that they're trying to control people, right? It's just that they feed out what we want, and when we are focused on something, we want more of it. So cigarettes, crisps, Chinese takeaway. If you eat something, your body wants more of it. So if more people are negative, the more they focus on the news. The more they focus on the news, the more they demand to be told what's going on in the world. And it's this cycle of, I call it this cancerous cycle of bullshit, where you're being fed the same nonsense that is destroying you, and you need more of that thing to fulfill that need. And if you were to focus on positive stuff, you'd want more positive stuff. It's just that more people are negative, and they seek negative stuff, and
yeah.
it's destroying the cells of our body. Negative news, and I do not watch the news.
No, I don't watch the news either, because
There's
it's just
so
depressing.
much there's so much amazing stuff that you can, like, if you go for a walk in the fields, that feel makes you feel so good that why would you want to spend half an hour watching the news? We can just go for a walk and just enjoy the nighttime and the nature and animals. It doesn't make sense. And you find that a lot of these people who focus on the news, they don't really go out and walk, as
No,
because you can't have that feeling of nature and happiness and then the feeling of, oh my god, the world's coming to an end. That's not how it works.
no. Yeah, because I think they'd find if they went out for a walk, they'd forget about that, all the doom and gloom, and they might accidentally cheer themselves up a bit.
Exactly, and I find that when I go for a walk and I suddenly come in and watch TV, it feels really weird. It's like your brain's had all this freedom, and now you're like in this, the lights of the TV and the lights of the lights of, they're just like all really dominant, and it's like, wow, you've been outside, you feel free, and then you're indoors again. But if you are always indoors, connected to all the EMF from all the electronics and stuff, you just become used to that feeling of electronic charge, and it's
Mm,
so bad. It's like all this 5G stuff that's coming out. Yeah, it is going to destroy so much living cells, humans, birds, animals. Um, it's just the way it is. Like, we want faster internet. Everything is now on internet, but that frequency is like having 50 microwaves just everywhere. And again, you can't stop it. You can't change it. You can move house to the country where there's less of it, move abroad, but you're not going to stop it. You just have to be aware of it. Um, but yeah, that is something that's gonna really cause a lot of illness and disease in people. All this stuff
mm,
about, say the NHS, and it's like everyone always finds solutions to problems. They don't address the actual problem. Everyone's ill because there is too much disease. There's not enough money in any national health service. It's not to do with the government or not enough staff. There's plenty. There's just too many fucking people who are at disease and not at ease. And
mm.
again, it's just that you can't change it. It's like, it's just like a tsunami. You just
Yeah,
got to get out of the way, because it's gonna wipe out what it's gonna do. There's always going to be people with illnesses going to hospitals, and there's going to be lack of money and lack of staff. And then eventually, as I said, it will just become localized, where you just have your own doctor in the village, and then
mm,
this national, country health service thing won't exist. It will just be localized.
yeah. I think maybe in the future it wouldn't surprise me if we get some sort of like break off communities that sort of set up their own like little isolated world, like on an island somewhere, and we say, right, we're not having any 5G or anything like that. We're just gonna live, like as we did hundreds of years ago, and like grow our own food and that sort of thing. And I think that'd be amazing. And people will probably go there to heal before
No,
going back
literally.
into the real world.
Rather than them go to find their small tribes, they'll just go to Cornwall, the vegan tribe, or the vegetarian tribe, or
Yeah.
the spiritual enlightened tribe, or the no
Yes.
5G tribe, or the technical tribe. Like we go online to find people who think the same as us, but then they're miles away. We need to have physical people next to us. And I always say that it won't be long until we've got our own little village of the vegan village or the Mexican village or the Chinese village, because they're just people on your same frequency, localized, and we'll all start growing our own food. There'll be a barber, there'll be a doctor, there'll be a, I don't know, a water specialist, all the basic things that we need. And probably
Yeah.
not a car tire place because we'll all be walking in nature and shit. But yeah, it won't be long. Everything always goes back around. If you look at history, everything does a full circle. Tribes get too big, we all fight because government lose control, and then we go back around to small little civilizations and grow your own toilet roll, grow your own pasta. It's gonna
Hmm.
happen. I don't know exactly when, but next 30 years it will certainly
Yeah.
change.
Yeah. I think well, it's like the law of attraction. It's like, you attract people on the same vibe as yourself. That's like a fundamental thing. So yeah, I mean, it has to happen really, because people, they can't you can't really live in harmony with somebody who's very, very different, like on a different wavelength almost to you. It's, I think, anyone finds it difficult.
That's the thing, right? Small tribes become a big country, and now we have planes, so we're all migrating, and we're not just pure English, pure Indian. We're Indian, Chinese, English, Scottish, Irish, American. So this thing about one belief system, it's not, it's a mixture. But then you're with other people who don't have the same belief system as you. So what happens when you're not in harmony? You're disharmony, which means essentially it's war as opposed to peace. Hence why everyone argues about the same damn thing. Um, and you either change it or you go to war, and then you revert back. So it's happening. If you look around, you look at all these, like, people who always go to the countryside. They're just like people who are fed up of pollution and city life and people moaning about shit. And all these country people, they're so at peace and they're so loving and they're sharing each other's jam. And I've made a spaghetti bolognese. Would you like some? And that's the same, they go into the same types of people that want peace and nature. And city people, they're all about chaos and going out and they're all attracting the same. Um, but yeah, big changes coming. Don't know when, but it's absolutely
Yeah.
coming.
Well, I think basically the meaning of life is to be able to look at other people with maybe completely different views to your own and still, accept them for who they are. I mean, if everyone could do that, then we would be living in harmony, because, I mean, differences are good. I mean, it makes people interesting, doesn't it? I think if everyone was
Yeah,
like me, I'd go mad.
yeah, because if you see yourself in somebody, you repel. So if you're exactly the same force frequency, you
Mm,
repel. You need that difference in energy in order to get
yeah.
that attraction. Um,
Mm.
so if everyone was the same, we would simply see all the things we hate about ourselves and kill them, and all the things we love, and yeah, it just wouldn't work. So we learn by looking at other people the things we don't like about ourselves because we see parts of them in us, and then we change. So you need difference to narrow yourself up. But if we were all the same anyway, we wouldn't know any different. So we'd all be in
Yeah.
harmony anyway. Like all the cows in the field, they all look the same. They all eat the same grass, and they don't fight because that's all that they've known. But
Mm.
when you change your mindset, then now you're different to other people, and that is good, and it's also bad because you see things you hate about yourself, but also you, yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
very complex.
It is, yeah. It's very complicated, I think. Yeah, but I think, yeah, you just need change, don't you? Because change is like motion, like energy and motion, like emotion. And you need to feel emotion about other people, like be it like annoyance or love or whatever. Because, it's impossible for the world to be still. Otherwise, you wouldn't exist really, you know.
I love the fact that you can, when you go on holiday and you come across another family that lives like 4 or 5 hours away, and you just get on so well with them, but yet you don't really get on with somebody like 10 minutes away. And it's amazing how people on our same mindset are spread out across the world, like not just in the same country, but across the whole world. And there's so many people out there. Like there is almost millions of people who we would all get on with, but they're not directly in, say, the next 30 miles of where we live. And these people are out there, and it's amazing to connect to people like someone who you've never spoke to before, a
Mm.
random human of another country, and yet you connect on the same things, like the same fundamental beliefs, and you feel like you've known them forever, and that they're just like a family member, even though you probably get on better with them than certain family members. And it just says that this thing about family, it's not about blood, it's about the connection. And just because you are connected via blood doesn't mean you have anything in common. Often siblings, they grow up and they're not the same as the other sibling because
Yeah.
there was an imbalance. So we're those two siblings are different vibrations. So now they will attract other people on their vibration across the world, where they have such an amazing connection with that person that you don't need to be with family members. You just need to be people who get you on the same level as you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we learn like our biggest lessons in life through our family members, be it like nice lessons or not. Some of them are really hard, aren't they, to learn?
It's all about balancing our energy. So our parents' energies, we learn from them in terms of the things that we don't like about them or they don't like about themselves, which they can't change. And we are by default those energies, and we see the things that we don't like in our mum, for example, and we can change that because we are that by default, and we change that, we counteract it. So now we are the better version of our parents, and if you can change them and teach them, fantastic. Most people you can't, but yeah, constantly evolving. I was going to say, what is your most like famous law of attraction story that you can remember that comes to mind? Like something that's just like so amazing how you wanted this thing, and then somebody invited you out to the pub, and then you ended up going on a pub crawl, and then that thing was there, and then like the amazing story, like the flow state of like, oh my god, it's just everything's bang, 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 bang.
Um, well, story that comes to mind, it didn't actually happen to me. It happened to a friend of mine actually, who they were weirdly they were in jail in the Caribbean because like not through no fault of their own, but they were in jail. And basically they were stuck there. The court date was hadn't been set. So it just looked as if they'd be there for years and years and years. But I knew that this person was a very positive person, so I was like, not too worried. And weirdly enough, it in the next week or so, a massive hurricane, flattened like a lot of this island. The prison was actually fine, but all the prisoners, like the foreign prisoners, were actually released. They were flown back to their own country and released without charge, with no, there was no ongoing situation with that, so they were free to go. But basically, if my friend, if this hurricane hadn't arrived, she would have been there probably still now. Like, and this was about 10 years ago, like just rotting away in some like jail in the middle of nowhere. And it's strange because this person doesn't really talk about the law of attraction much and whatever. It just naturally works for them. Um, and I think that's the key to it, really, is having it as part of your natural life rather than, because I do see a lot of people online like, oh, I need help with the law of attraction, I need this. And but the problem is the law of attraction is like, it's like the sky being blue. It can't be helped to be blue. It's what is. And as humans, the law of attraction, it works. It always works. But sometimes people don't recognize it because they think it's working negatively. They're like, oh, it's not working. Where's my Ferrari? Where's this? And you're like, ah,
That's the thing, right? People see something and they want it. Like they want a car, they
yeah,
want this, they want that, but they don't really need it. I call it, for example, if it wasn't your thought, then it will just sit on the side. So if somebody gives you like this Harry Potter book, right, that you didn't ask for, it's not in
yeah,
your thought process to read it. So it will sit there, and you might read it, think about it, I need to do it, but chances are it'll sit there forever until you feel the need to read it. Whereas if you were like, oh, I want a Harry Potter book, and you were going
mm,
to get it for Christmas, and your mate brings it instead, you'll read the whole book. I find that people who ask, how do I do it? It's not working, they're not on the correct vibration in the first place.
yeah,
A lot of people like teach law of attraction and stuff. We teach the people who want to change their life but don't have it in them, because you either have this ability to find it yourself and
mm,
you sort of see it along the stages and you put it together yourself, or you're
yeah,
somebody's dependent on somebody bringing it all to you. So a lot of people, they want change but they can't have change, because if you are going to change, you would need to ask. You just have this, as you said, intuitive feeling already, and it would have been there since a very young age. You'd be different
yeah,
at school. You would be the normal kid who was just reading in the book. You'll be away with the fairies. You would have always been different. A lot of these people, they say 40, 50, whatever, 30, and they want change. but you can't just suddenly think, I want this life. It has to be within you. It's almost like an entrepreneur is within them. They see
Mm.
something, they think, how can I make more money from this? How can I get this cheaper? Rather than,
Yeah.
oh, that's a nice £200 bag. I get the husband to buy it with no concept of money. It's a
Yeah.
mindset. A lot of these
Yeah.
people, they can't change, sadly. Um,
Yeah.
it is within you or it's not. It's just the way it is. It's almost like if you believe reincarnation, how the people who get the spiritual life were the ones
Mm.
searching in a past life who died having followed their path, and then the universe provides you with the life that you want. These people who want it at 40, well, they were say shitty in a past life. And if they end this life kind of not going back and being bad and thinking, fuck you and stuff, then they'll get this new life in the next life. And I don't believe in that as such, but
Mm.
you can see how the cycle of it just keeps flowing through in terms of becoming re-enlightened, like the
Mm.
journey of being completed. Do you believe in reincarnation?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But also going back to like you were saying about asking the questions like how can I get this cheap or whatever. Those are the right questions to ask. But sometimes people just don't ask those questions. It's all like how can I do this? What can I do to make it work? And that sort of thing. And as soon as you ask those questions, the answers will come. But most people are like, this isn't going to work, or yeah, the law of attraction is not working, and that's reaffirming the fact that it's not working for you. So it is working. It's working really, really well, in fact, because you're just affirming over and over again that it's not working in your perception.
What I find amazing is that you can connect with someone's personality, like they could be
Mm.
fun, bubbly, have the same passion like skydiving, but in terms of how the brain is, they are completely the opposite. They have no idea about, say, spirit, energy, past life. They just have never thought about it. It's just never been on their mind. They're just sort of in their head all the time. They go to work, they come home, they cook the dinner, they clean, they go to bed. Somebody
Mm.
could be like, so I call it brain dumb through no fault of their own, that you could say any of this. They have no idea, no drive to even think about that. And that to me, that's fascinating because it's not their fault. It's just different tribes, right? We just happen to
Yeah.
connect on, say, football or skydiving. But to think how someone has utterly no idea of the stuff that we know, for example, the other dimension, it's
Mm.
baffling. It's like, well, that is why your life is like it is. But the fact that you have no idea and drive, it fascinates me because it just fascinates me. There's no other way to explain it. You can't help them. They can't help themselves. It's just that's fascinating how just
Yeah.
no idea.
Yeah. Yeah. It does seem strange. Yeah. Because yeah, I find because like I said, to me the law of attraction and sort of spirituality and stuff. It's like someone asking me if I believe the sky exists and stuff. I'm like, well, of course it does. It's always been there and it always will be there. And can't you see it? Like I'm like to other people, you're like, well, if you can see it, surely it's there. And everyone's like, no, no,
Do
which
you
is
think
weird.
that do you think that parents who like are enlightened, for example, I'm 27, if I was a parent at say 40 or whatever, do you think that parents should I start teaching my child all the shit that I know as early as possible, knowing damn well that when they go to school, they will not fit in because they will be smarter than the teacher who thinks she's
Mm.
smart because she's the teacher, and all the other kids are just dumb robots following the same bullshit system. They will not fit in. Is it dangerous to teach your kids this who you're essentially setting your kid up to be the black sheep already when it's hard enough as it is being the black sheep if you're different, but telling them all this stuff, it's dangerous because you know that the kids at that school are not going to know any of this shit because their parents are going to be the same dumb people. It's dangerous. What's your thought on what I've just said about people teaching their kids enlightenment?
Um, well, I always because I've got a daughter and she's 20, and I always like taught her very much to find out things and think for herself. And she's a similar thinker to me, which is great. Because I suppose I have so much trust and faith in enlightenment, I suppose it were, and that I think, well, she's going to discover it for herself, which of course she did. Like, because in my mind, there's nothing to discover. It's who we really are. So I sort of encourage her to look at who she is and like how she feels about stuff. Um, but yeah, in respect of fitting in, I suppose I I do sort of like to teach her just respect for other people, and like other people have different views, and I do say some people aren't going to be as aware of things as you are, and you just have to be aware of that and just make allowances for them, in the way you treat them and the way you act around them and stuff, and yeah, she's great, and she has loads of friends, some of them like, spiritually enlightened friends, some of them not so much in my opinion, but and she has a great social life and stuff, so yeah, it's good.
I find that, for example, I couldn't teach my child every damn thing that I know, quantum physics, enlightenment, power of the mind, because it's just not possible. But all you do is you
No.
teach them that, you open them up to that life,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
and then they will go through the exploration path I went on. So they go on YouTube,
yeah,
they type in power of the mind, that will link to enlightenment, that will link to consciousness. They will do that journey themselves. So you
yeah,
open it up and then they take their own path down and you're sort of like guiding them there should they have
yeah,
any questions. And you become like the YouTube person. Instead, you're in the living room. You can ask the YouTube person or your dad, for example. Um,
mm,
but yeah, in when somebody gives birth to a child or they are in the womb, they are made up of that vibration of the parent. And if the parent is
mm,
on a positive high frequency, enlightened, that child is also going to be in vibrating at that frequency for the minute they pop out. So
mm,
now they are a different energy compared to the mother who was negative, who smoked, who was angry and had depression growing up. They're a different vibration. So they will naturally attract to different things. So as you said, it's within us. Your daughter is already on that vibration that's connected to all this stuff, and you just tell her the small stuff growing up, which now puts her ears in like, okay, mum said that, and she focuses on that, and they find their own journey. It's almost like your Chinese language, I'm Indian language. It means the same thing at the end of the day, but you got to teach them the
yeah,
first like no, yes, hello, goodbye, and then they learn the whole shit themselves, just like how a child learns English language. Like, how does a child learn English language? You just speak to them and they just get it. And it's the same
yeah,
thing. Somebody will find that path of enlightenment, and you just have to sort of just put them on it.
yeah. Yeah, the language thing really, it reminds me of have you heard of the he was Chinese, he did experiments with water where he'd sort of
Yeah, I
talk.
knew that about. Yeah,
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but it's amazing. Um but one thing I've always wanted to do is do that same experiment, but because I was asking someone, I said, because you say like love and hate, and like I hate you and I love you and you're great, this water, and but I say surely it's not so much the words that you speak to it, it's the intention behind the words, because in different languages those words are different, they sound different, and obviously the water cannot interpret what that language is, but it does interpret the feeling behind that word. So I was really interested to know if you could sort of like talk to a plant and say like, is it okay to swear, or like
yeah, yeah, yeah. So on.
yeah, like if you could say like, oh fuck, like this, and like it would have the vibration of love. And what I'd just be really interested to find out what would happen to that water.
So sound has a vibration, feeling has a vibration,
Mm,
and they often are in sync. So, for example, you've got a monk around the river, and he's
mm,
hungry, and he goes to his mate, that means hungry. The other
mm,
monk knows that is hungry. That word is say food, for example. Yeah. So
yeah,
the words come from feeling. So if you're
yeah,
feeling angry, it's like cunt, fuck, shit, negative tones. If you're happy, it's yay, hello, oh, hello. It's a
yeah,
higher
yeah,
frequency, like love and hate. But what you're saying is true. Other languages have different sounds for different words. So, for example, I love you in Chinese, it could be dagludo, right? So, really, it'll come down to if you go online after this and go Google Translate and type in love, write down what it means in Finland, Chinese, Indian, Pakistan, whatever, there'll be different sounds. But it all
mm,
comes down to the frequency of the sound. So if it's a high frequency, like dulu, sena, didi, then it's a high frequency. Or it's kolno, disi, molaka. The lower the sound, the negative the vibration is. But technically, if it all comes from the same feeling, that no matter what language it is, that word love should have the same similar frequency. But what you're
mm,
saying, I understand, because some
mm,
words, the Chinese word for love might be dulu, which could be a negative frequency. But if you said it
yeah,
with a happy feeling, does it
mm,
take the feeling of the sound or the feeling of your intention?
yes,
The gut
yeah,
feeling is stronger than sound. Technically, the
mm,
gut would win. But that is very interesting because I've not looked at it like that because it's mainly feeling. But then music, Mozart. If you play Mozart to the rice
yeah,
scenario, it goes nice. But if you play heavy metal, it goes
yeah,
really bad.
mm,
So it is the sound, but then again, is it the sounds of the words that the heavy rock man's saying
Yeah,
versus the. So that's very interesting. I don't know. That is
yeah.
interesting.
I don't know either, but I think it's worthy of an experiment.
You could get your laptop right and set it up each day to say, "I love you, you're amazing," and say Chinese, and then do that for a week, and then in Japanese, and then in English, right, and see the difference, and then sort of look at the sounds of that sound in Chinese and Indian, and then it will say that it is the sound as opposed to the intention. I mean, I don't know whether that would work. It's still sound coming up the laptop. Don't know.
Yeah,
Nice little experiment for summer. Nothing else to do. We're all locked down. We're bored. Nothing else to do.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I can see it now. My flat will be filled with mouldy things of rice.
3 glasses of rice there, 3 glasses of rice there. Chinese man there, Indian man. The mum's his daughter's like, "What the fuck is going on, mum? All I can hear is Chinese and Indian. What's going on?"
Yeah, definitely. Oh dear. But no, I think it would be interesting. But no, yeah, I do believe in reincarnation. To like come back to a question you said about 20 minutes ago, probably. Yeah, and I do believe that very much that people choose the life they come into, and they choose the lessons they want to learn in that life, with people around them, and you sort of in like soul groups, as it were, and you sort of talk about before you're born into this life about things you want to accomplish, and like I want to learn more patience or that sort of thing. Do you
Would you
believe in that?
say? Oh yeah, I believe in everything and anything, but I've questioned everything so much so that I found flaws in what I believed. So I
Mm,
believed in ghosts, I was speaking to ghosts, but I realized it was just me interacting with my own self, and my energy was interfering with electronic stuff, which made it click and turn off. So I believe in that and that. Like I believe in for global warming, against global warming. I'm not one or the other. I understand why people believe in God and why they don't. I'm neither because it's all to do with everything and anything. Um,
yeah.
would you say that you have karma, or have you removed all your karma? So you've forgiven everyone, you've you've not made the same mistake twice, you've learnt from lessons. Do you think you still got karma?
Yes, yeah, I think I've still got karma. I think because I think karma's almost being created all the time. Like, I think sometimes you can't help it. Like some things that you do might negatively affect someone you might not even know. But I don't really, I don't know what I think about karma, to be honest. I don't really think that much about it. But I believe, I don't believe in I think that the karma needs to be worked out with the person. I don't think you can like do a bad thing to a person and then something randomly bad will happen to you through another person. I think that you need to work out your karma with the original person, really. I don't think it's sort of cancelled out
See,
in that way.
I'll explain that, right? Let's just say that you do what's called a bad thing to that person. So let's just
Mm,
say you've put negative energy on that person, right? And if you were a positive vibration, then you would have always been positive, right? So if you've done something like, I don't know, someone has you've lied to someone because for whatever reason, right? Or
yeah,
you said to them, okay, so they said, how much do I owe you? Because you bought something, and it will say £7, but you said, oh, it's
yeah,
just a tenner, right? So
yeah,
that's essentially a lie, £3. So
yeah,
now when your friend buys you something or whatever, and
mm,
they say, no, no, hang on a sec, you say, how much do I owe you? They say, oh, it's a tenner,
mm,
because it's the same energy. It's almost
yeah,
like, okay, well, because you've done it, I don't mind you doing it. So it's game of, I don't mind you doing that to me because I did it to somebody else. So that's the
yeah,
karma thing. If you've knowingly lied to somebody, it means that they are going to lie to you because you essentially wouldn't be on that frequency of that person if they were lying to you. You wouldn't want lies in your life if you didn't lie to other people. You allow
yeah,
lies in your life because you lie to other people. It's kind of, well, I do it, so I don't really care. But it's like a
yeah,
game. It's like
yeah,
if you addressed it, then certain things wouldn't happen. It's like if, for example, the husband doesn't put the toilet seat down,
mm,
it's a game where he does that and then the wife nags. But it's like, well, if I didn't nag, we'd be more in harmony. But he has to understand and respect the reasons why I want it down. So you kind of are like that. But if you were to address it, you'd become like that. So you've balanced
mm,
up the harmony. So karma is simply just the energy you are putting out, you'll get back. If you lie to your friend, that friend will lie to you because if you weren't lying, you wouldn't appreciate that person lying to you. So you wouldn't
yeah,
lie to people, but then they wouldn't lie to you because you wouldn't have them in your life. Or you'd say, look, don't lie to me because if you do, I don't want you in my life. And so now if they choose to lie, then they wouldn't be here because you don't want liars. So you've balanced out the energy. So
mm,
what you said is kind of wrong because the vibration you are, it's almost like if you are giving out
Yeah.
negative vibration, the plant will start to die, like the rice will start to die.
It's
You're
kind of
giving
like
that
the universe reflecting what you are through karma.
Yeah, so you think about if you say I love you to a plant all the time, that's right, love you to the rice is going to be healthy. If you keep
Mm.
saying I hate you to the plant, it's going to be shitty and moldy. But if you're like love you 1 minute, then I hate you 1 minute, it's gonna kind of be yellowy, not really moldy, but not nice and white. So if you are never lying to anybody, you wouldn't want liars in your life. So if they are is liars, you'll say goodbye. Whereas if you lie to some people, like the rice, I hate you, I love you, I hate you, I love you, you'll allow some people to lie and some people not to lie.
Mm.
But it's the vibration you're giving that in the first place to the rice that's reflecting on you. So you are negative to the rice, it's moldy. If you're loving to the rice, it's going to be fresh. If you are lying to some people, you're going to allow lies because they're on the vibration. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, I actually weirdly wrote a blog post similar to this. It was about the universe reflecting back, what you are, and so it's easier to see, really, and change, if it needs changing, obviously.
Yeah, like you just imagine how you are to a friend or a neighbor or a family member is how you are to a rice. Just think
Mm.
about everyone's a glass of rice. Okay, if you're positive to somebody, they're going to be white and pure, and they're going to be open and honest and not lie. But if you are negative, rice is going to go black. They're going to hide things and lie and manipulate and whatever. They'll be late. They won't reply until a few days later. You don't want people in your life who, when you say let's go out for dinner, they think, oh, I've got plenty of friends. If I'm bored, I'll say, let's go out for dinner. You want for them to be like, yeah, let's go now. So
Mm.
that rice is that reflection of if I'm a certain frequency to that rice, it's going to respond to me. If I'm a certain vibration to people, they're going to respond. Like, for example, I know plenty of people who they see that, for example, I haven't replied to their message and they will purposely not reply because I haven't replied to them. Like it's a game. It's like, no,
Oh,
I'm busy. I'll reply when I can. If you're not busy, reply. If you're busy, reply in 10 years. There's no
yeah,
game here. But it's like people counteract it and match. If they know that that person could be lying, then they lie. It's like it's not a game. I don't want lies in my life. I'm just fucking busy.
yeah, yeah. I think it's difficult as especially with the message thing, and I do find sometimes I respond differently to different people, like in my life, which is a bit weird.
Yeah, for example, people who you know already get it. You just feel the need to go out of your way to just say, okay, because
Mm.
now people's minds they start to go wild. They think, oh, see, he doesn't like me. Oh, he does not interested. It's like, no, I was taking a shit and I just read it and I put it down and I forgot. We're busy people. But
Yeah,
it's true. Some people you feel the need to keep on that reflect that frequency. Like just saying okay means that they've seen it, but that means you're already in tune. And some people who you don't, that means that you might not feel the need to because you're not in the same vibration. But it's true. Some people you just feel like there's a need to and not a need to. But it also comes down to they're not really supposed to be in your life anyway because you're not in the same vibration. So it's like I want to learn the law of attraction, but it's not really within me. That person wanted to, for example, do a podcast, but we're not really on the same frequency. So
yeah,
it's is everything's perfect as it is. Like everything happens for a reason, exactly as it's supposed to,
yeah.
because it just is. People come into your life and they learn something, even though what you thought they came into your life for wasn't what you thought.
Mm.
Everything is about the balance of
Mm.
energy.
But
It's that
that's the thing
karma
about
stuff.
the law of attraction. It's not hard. You shouldn't have to chase things. If you're like chasing people to do stuff with you and like think, oh, that person hasn't got back to me, I'm going to send them another email stuff. That's not the way to go about it, because it's saying it's not working. Try something else. And when it is working, you'll know, because it'll be easy. It'll be
I
like,
find
do you
that
want to do
when
this? Yeah.
something I find that when something is meant to be, it flows backwards and forwards because they both want to keep it going. And for example, if you don't get an email back and you're now focusing on it to try and control it and wondering why, well, the minute it doesn't come back, it means it wasn't meant to be. So focusing on it is only pushing it away. It's not meant to come back anyway. So
Yeah.
something is supposed to happen will just flow. And I
Yeah.
finally surrendered that in my life. If I message someone for a podcast and they don't reply, it means instinctively in that moment they didn't have the need to reply. We're not on the
Mm.
same frequency. But if somebody does reply in that instinctive moment, we're on the same frequency. So now it's just you forget it, you let it go. If it comes back, you book it. If it doesn't,
Yeah.
it wasn't meant to be. And that's fine. Some people are like, oh, I love to do a podcast. But when it comes down to it, oh, nervousness, oh, and that's okay. It's like
Yeah.
you plant loads of seeds a few
Yeah.
flowers grow and the rest don't. You just have to plant loads of seeds in order to get a few flowers. It's just the
Yeah.
way it is.
And also it's timing. I mean, some people will be the perfect person to do a podcast with, but not at that time. You know, it might be like a couple of weeks and someone will get back to you and like you'll be like, oh, this is great. And you know, it'll be a far better podcast than it would be, say, at the time that it was originally scheduled to be. And it's just, I
Exactly.
suppose, just accepting that divine timing and just divine inspiration in life, really. It's a lot
Yeah.
easier. Yeah.
Like this thing about divine timing, it's never not spoken about. No one have fucking clue what you're on about divine. What the fuck is that? I've got to go for work now. What divine timing? But the universe, like whether God's in control, it was written in the stars. Everything is in order. Like our energies are connected to planets, and whatever planets are doing is the time it takes for us to do something. So we're not actually in control. Even if we trust our gut, if that planet is over there, it's going to take that amount of time. And if you don't trust your gut, then it wasn't meant to be because there was no energy there. So everything has perfect timing. And if someone comes into your life, for example, like a podcast, and they can't do it now, they're busy. Doesn't mean the podcast was going to be shit. They will come
Yeah.
back. They're just
Yeah.
busy. Physical life, like I have a job to do to pay for my house, doesn't mean we're not spiritually on the same page. So
Yeah.
again, you let it out, and if it's meant to be, it will come back. Chickens can always come home to roost.
Yes, yeah. I think a lot of people have issues sometimes with spirituality and like earning money and that sort of thing. They seem to think that the more like spiritual you are, then the less money should come into your life. But I don't think that's true at all. I think it's perfectly acceptable to be like prosperous and spiritual. In fact, I think it's almost impossible not to be, like, because you've got to be abundant on every level, really. Well, you are, because that's your divine right and that's who you are. Deep down is abundant in everything, you know, and that's as well as spirituality and love and stuff. It's also currency and like, because money is just an energy, isn't it?
Yeah, people who are spiritually enlightened simply just do things that makes them feel good, and you realize
Yeah.
that okay, I'm now enlightened. I still need to buy toilet paper. I still need to do
Yeah.
this, which requires money. So you either
Yeah.
struggle like everyone else who's not spiritual, or you make shitloads of money through being spiritual. And
Yeah.
it's just that you realize that everyone trades in money, so I need money. When everyone trades in carrots and whatever, I'll get carrots.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
people who say, how can you be money obsessed if you're spiritual? These are people who don't have any money. And so
Yeah.
if you don't have something, you want everyone else not to have it so you feel better about yourself. And
Well,
again, it's not
weirdly,
their
the
fault.
it's the people that haven't got it that are obsessed with it. You know, the obsession is from not having it, I think. And like, and also it's the thinking, which is completely wrong, that money will solve all their issues. So if only I had money, then everything would be great. I'd have time to be spiritual, which is a
Yeah.
crazy notion.
Money doesn't heal your soul, but when you have healed your soul without money, you can then use money to increase your energy in your soul. So people
Yeah.
trying to buy things to make them happy to complete themselves, it's like just running the bath and the plug's open. Once you have got the plug and the waters fill up, then you can add more water to increase your life, and then money won't make you happy, it'll make you happier because you're already happy. Like you can have a massage every week as opposed to every month, or you can have an extra poppadom with your Indian takeaway as opposed to, oh, I can't afford that. That's extra happiness, but you're quite happy with just a biryani. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think that's it. It's when you learn to be just happy with what is, that's when what is becomes like awesomely amazing all of a sudden.
Yeah.
It's kind yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say we've done about an hour now. Do you want to plug any websites, any social media pages, anything you want to put out there?
All right.
Blog,
Yeah, well,
journal, YouTube channel.
I've just got my my website, which is theinspirationjournal.com, which I put posts on every now and again. So yeah, and I do sort of law of attraction teaching and so if you go to the website you can hopefully find out the details there, which is theinspirationjournal.com.
Okay, I'm just gonna press stop and I'll say goodbye at the end. So wait there.
Okay.